Hey, everybody, Matthew Collar and Intern Paul. What's going on, Intern Paul?
Not much, Matt. Just ready to talk some Vikings.
All right, we've got Hot Routes. This is a mini Hot Routes with Intern Paul because he has come up with three great Hot Route questions and I can't waste them. So let's get right to it, Paul. What is your first mini Hot Route question?
All right, so the NFL tabled their onside kick rule. We saw the 4th and 15. They're going to wait at least another year. Give me the craziest onside kick rule that you think would actually be great for the NFL to implement.
All right, so I'm going to start by saying that I actually liked the 4th and 15. It was gimmicky for sure, and I totally understand why football people would look at it and say, really, we're going to line up and run another play after our offense has just had, say, an 11-play drive for a touchdown, and then you're going to make them get right back on the field for a 4th and 15, and it would give a pretty huge advantage to Patrick Mahomes or any quarterback who was good to be able to do that. I still thought by the numbers, by the percentages of completing a 4th and 15, they're very similar to what onside kicks used to be. And the onside kicks, once they changed the rules, they basically became irrelevant. And the 4th and 15 thing could have had us really on the edge of our seats at the end of every game, especially if it was two great quarterbacks. And maybe you're down by 2 touchdowns, but you know, hey, this thing isn't over when they score because he can come out and complete a 4th and 15. So I didn't mind that. But if we were going crazy, if we were going off the wall, what's the kookiest thing you could do and still kind of make a little bit of sense? I would go with having a kicker have to kick it through the goalpost to get the ball back. It's got to be about the same percentage. I mean, maybe if you were the Ravens, you could dominate that with Justin Tucker, but still, it's pretty hard to get it through the goalposts from that far away, kicking it off the tee. I don't think that they could do it consistently. That's the kookiest, weirdest thing that I could come up with. It would never, ever happen. I'm sure nobody would ever agree to it, but it would be kind of fun to have everybody stop and line up and say, all right, let's see if this kicker can boot it all the way to the other side of the field through the goalposts.
Maybe the Vikings would have to give Kari Vedvik another shot then if
Oh,
they're just
yes.
pulling
Great
him for
pull,
his
Paul.
leg. So, yep, gotta bring him back because he can't make that 45-yard field goal, but he can kick it 70 yards into the goalpost. So we
The
need that.
fifth
We need
round
that.
pick was worth it.
Exactly. All right. Second question. Afadi Adenabo said he's preparing to play 60 snaps a year. Everson Griffin doesn't look like he's coming back. Maybe. Who knows? What Viking player would surprise you the most if they became a full-time starter this season?
If I'm going with realistic, but also surprised, because of course I would be really stunned if an undrafted free agent made it as a starter from this year. But let's say within the realm of reality, how about Cameron Dantzler, the third round pick cornerback? It's pretty unusual that a cornerback who's drafted in the third round can become a starter right away. Usually there's a development curve there. But given the Vikings cornerback situation, how uncertain it is, would it be super shocking if he, say, beat out Holton Hill for a job, or if they, moved Mike Hughes inside and had Jeff Gladney on one side and Dantzler on the other? I don't think that's crazy to think about. The other guy that came to mind was Armon Watts. They really liked what they saw in a very small sample size from their sixth-round pick from 2019 last year. He is a big guy, but also can get after the passer. And as good as Shamar Stephen is at being a run-stuffing three technique, when you have Michael Pierce and Shamar Stephen in there, they're going to stop the run, just the two of those guys. But when it comes to getting after the passer, Michael Pierce isn't great at it. Shamar Stephen only had 6 pressures all of last year. If you can get most of what Stephen brings you in the run stopping and somebody who could get after the passer, then Armon Watts does, I think, have a chance to win that job.
Yeah, with 15 draft picks, I think the Vikings are hoping one of those guys can maybe be a surprise starter, just the way they kind of need to fill some holes. So that makes sense.
Right. You
Third
never
final
know.
question.
Also,
Oh, yeah.
sorry, you never know what injuries are going to happen either. Because let's say that somebody, a linebacker, gets hurt, and then all of a sudden Troy Dye is thrown in, and he ends up playing a lot, or something like that. Think about their safety situation: Anthony Harris, Harrison Smith. One of those guys gets hurt. Who's behind them? I mean, that's a completely open competition. Brian Cole, the late draft pick, Josh Metellus, a late draft pick. So that's going to be wide open if somebody even turns an ankle in training camp.
Yeah, and on the offensive line too, there's so many possibilities. Ollie Udo, I know people were kind of excited about his potential. I don't know. It's only been 1 week that we saw him in there, and they've got Rashad Hill behind him. But if a tackle goes down, if Ezra Cleveland's not ready, maybe he could do that. Who knows? Third and final question: hot routes. In 4 of the last 5 seasons, the Vikings have won 4 straight at one point. Where in this schedule do you see the Vikings having the best chance to maybe do that again, win 4 straight, catapult themselves into a potential playoff run?
So this is really challenging because you look through the schedule and you have at least one really tough matchup in every quarter of the season. And I know you don't mean just by quarters, but any four, games in a row. Where could they win four in a row? But I was thinking actually right off the bat, the start of the season, because I don't know what Phillip Rivers is going to look like. Tennessee, I'm not sure that they're the same team. Plus, they have to come to Minnesota. Is Ryan Tannehill going to continue to be that great? I'm not sure. The last time I saw him at US Bank Stadium, he didn't look good at all. And with Houston, Deshaun Watson is great. Houston's not an easy place to go down and play, but they traded away their best player, DeAndre Hopkins, in the offseason, and they tried to replace him with Brandon Cooks, who is not anywhere near as good in my mind as DeAndre Hopkins. That's one section that came to mind for me, Paul. The other section was when they go to Chicago, play home Dallas, home Carolina, home Jacksonville. If they could beat Dallas in that group, and Soldier Field is not the house of horrors that it usually is for them. Maybe if there's no fans, that one actually helps the Vikings. They could probably take four in a row there. Any other section of 4 games that I tried to put together, I found at least one where he said, no, are they going to go to Seattle and win that game? Or are they going to beat both Drew Brees and Tom Brady? Probably not. And then you have the Christmas Day game mixed in, going to the Superdome. That's really tough. Probably not going to beat Green Bay both times. You'll kind of hope to split there. So I think those are the 2 sections, the opener, and then when they go Chicago, Dallas, Carolina, and Jacksonville, of course, are very beatable.
Yeah, I think when you brought up the no fan situation, I think that throws an added wrinkle into it because the things we think we know might not be the case when there's no fans in the stands. So they've had trouble at Chicago. If there's not the fans there, who knows? Green Bay, same thing. They have tough road games at Seattle. We've seen the house of horrors they have when they're at Seattle. So there's all these different things that if there aren't fans in the stands, this could shift to where home games don't matter as much for this run, or the opposite, where the tough away games that they have in the schedule, they have a chance to eke some of those out and maybe then get 4 in a row somewhere.
And speaking of that, if you go to Purple Insider, you can find my article about what it will be like for the Vikings if they have to play at US Bank Stadium with no fans. I did a lot of statistical research and even interviewed the guy who wrote the book Scorecasting for the article. So make sure you go to purpleinsider.substack.com and check that out. That one is free for everybody to read, and I'll put the link in the description below as well. So thank you very much for this mini Hot Routes, Intern Paul. Good job.
Thank you.